Okay. We will call the June 30th, 2015 Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Board members present: Mr. Floyd Thomas, representing the Mattapanai District; Mr. Jeff Black, representing the Western Caroline District; Mr. Reggie Underwood, representing the Reedy Church District; Mr. Wayne Akers, representing the Madison District; Mr. Jeff Seeley, representing the Bowling Green District; and I'm Calvin Taylor, and I represent the Port Royal District. At this time, we will stand and ask Mr. Underwood to lead us in the invocation.
Most gracious and Heavenly Father, once again we come before you asking for your blessings over the meeting of the Board of Supervisors meeting here in Caroline County. Heavenly Father, you ask that you guide us, help us to make the decisions that are right for the county and all of the citizens across the Caroline County. Heavenly Father, we ask a special blessing for the folks down in Charleston, South Carolina. Ask you to touch the minds and the hearts of those making decisions there, that they will look at the people and give them satisfaction. We give all blessings, all thanks in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I believe we have at least one proposed amendment to the agenda. I think Mr. Thomas one proposed amendment, adjustment, a request for reduction of the water bill from Calvary Church. This is, I believe, Mr. Thomas, this is your request?
Yes, sir.
You just want it added to the agenda?
If that would be fine with you, Mr. Chairman, I would appreciate that. I've spoken to Mr. Schiebel, who I don't see, but I think we have everything ready.
Okay, so that would be under, I guess, 9A under new business. Are there any more amendments to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman. There's only one.
Okay. Then the agenda will stand approved as presented with the amendment. That takes us to opening board comments. Mr. Thomas, do you have any at this time?
I do have one. Aside from that, and I thank the board's indulgence of adding the water bill issue. The other one I had was related to the elderly tax relief program. I think Mrs. Carter sent us all an email about the program, and when the tax rate went up last year to 83 cents, I believe the maximum they get is $800, and Mrs. Carter was asking if the max could go up to $1,000, which would keep the same number of people in. I think there's 254 homes in the program now, and I think it's a $9,000 impact to the county. So we're basically readjusting the elderly relief program for the tax rate that went into effect last year. So that would be the board's desire. I'm not sure if we want staff to work it through with Mrs. Carter.
I would think we would need to do that, have staff get with Ms. Carter, and then come back once it's been worked out.
Yeah, I don't think there's any implications until the December tax bills. Is that right? Until next year's tax bill. So I guess we have a little bit of time to make sure we work with staff to work it out.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure we brought that up, and would like to see that continue. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Mr. Black, do you have any opening board comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank the Sheriff's Department. I had an opportunity this past Friday night to do their ride-along program. I try to do that once a year with them. I'd like to thank Sergeant Miller for just kind of bringing me along what they do on a nightly, daily, nightly basis, I guess, what they go through. So it's always an eye-opening experience with what you see and what they have to deal with. So just want to say thank you for letting them allow me to do that, and I intend to I will get with Chief Loftus to try to do the fire and EMS as well over the summer. The other thing, I actually have a request, if it's okay with the board. If it's not a big deal. The August meeting is scheduled for the 11th. I was wondering if we could push that back to the 18th, if that conflicts with anyone's schedule. Just let me know. I mean, it's not something that's earth-shattering, but if it's possible, I would like that.
Can we talk about
I can't.
Yeah, we don't meet in July. Is it possible we can go up? Because we don't have a meeting in July. We don't have a meeting.
Okay, what we can do is, at our break, we can look at our calendars and see if we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, is that all for you, Mr. Black?
That is, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Mr. Underwood, do you have any?
Just one comment, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Mr. Cully again for attending my constituent meeting early this month. It's always quite informative to have him there, and he adds a lot to the meeting, and certainly I want him to know that we appreciate his time. I know he has a family and has other obligations, but he's always there to assist the citizens. So I do want to say thank you for that, Mr. Cully. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Ms. Akers, do you have any?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing is to echo what Mr. Underwood just said. Mr. Cully, he has 6 of us to attend our meetings at, and he was at mine last night in Lake Caroline, and I do appreciate him very much. I think the people in the area enjoy getting to know him as well, and so I do appreciate the time that he gives to these board members, that he over and beyond what he's getting paid for, and I appreciate it. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Seeley, do you have any?
Just one, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to remind everybody that the Caroline County Fair is the 8th through the 11th of July. Hope everybody will come out and see. They've got some new buildings and a lot of entertainment. And the cost is only $5.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seeley. I just have one. Would like to remind board members as well as citizens of the Independence Day celebration in Port Royal on July 4th. It's from 10 to 2. And they certainly would like to see as many people there as possible. Lots of good things going on, lots of interesting things, entertainment for our young people. So if you're not busy on the 4th, feel free to come down to Port Royal between 10 and 2 and enjoy the 4th of July celebration. Okay, that takes us to presentations and reports. Our first agenda item is the recognition of Mr. Al Collins for his service on the Rappahannock Area Community Services Board of Directors. Just before Mr. Collins comes forth, I would like to read the resolution, and after that, Mr. Collins, we would ask that you come forth and be presented with this. It's a resolution of appreciation for Al Collins for his service on the Rappahannock Area Community Services Board of Directors. Whereas the Rappahannock Area Community Services Board is committed to improving the quality of life for people residing in Caroline, King George, Spotsylvania, and Stafford, and the city of Fredericksburg with mental health, intellectual disability, and substance abuse problems. And whereas the Rappahannock Area Community Services Board of Directors is comprised of 15 volunteer members who are appointed by the local governing bodies and represent people from the community with various occupations and interests. And whereas Mr. Al Collins has represented Caroline County on this board since September 2004 and will step down after serving the maximum number of terms allowed. And whereas during his tenure, Mr. Collins has served as chairman and vice chairman of the board, as well as chairman of the Virginia Association of Community Services Boards, and has performed his duties with passion, distinction, and a fierce advocacy for the citizens who desperately need these critical services. And whereas Caroline County has benefited greatly from Mr. Collins' leadership and dedication to this important endeavor, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Caroline County Board of Supervisors hereby extends its deep appreciation to Mr. Collins for his outstanding service to Caroline County and extends its best wishes for continued success in the future endeavors, adopted this 30th day of June 2015, and is signed by the Clerk of the Board, Mr. Charlie Culley, and the Chairman, Calvin B. Taylor. At this time, Mr. Collins, would you come forward and receive these honors? While Mr. Collins is coming forward, I believe he is still going to be doing something with the state, I believe. You might want to, yeah, he's going to be on the state board, so he's not going to get to go home and cut grass. He's going to have to still do some things for the state, and I'm sure that he will be appreciated there as well. Collins, thank you. There you are. We appreciate your service. Would you like to?
Okay, I want to thank you very much for the award, citation. I want to say that Al Collins didn't do anything. It all started here with the board. Number one, donating the land for the Caroline Clinic, which is across from Caroline High School, where we have the clinic for the mental health and substance abuse, and we have a daycare center for intellectual disabilities. And that was provided by this board back in 2006 or 7. And some of you were on the board at that time. I really appreciate it. I am serving as the chair of the Virginia Association of Community Services Board, and we have one more year to serve out. So appreciate it very much, and thank you all. And don't forget the most vulnerable citizens that we have in the county, those with mental illness, intellectual disability, and substance abuse. Especially this day and time, substance abuse, if you hear her in, people like to get hooked up on. Thank you very much.
Shake hands with the rest of the board. They would like to take care of you too.
I don't have to pay for that.
No, you
Yeah, that's good, Mr. Taylor. Okay, so you want to turn it around so we can see the there we go. Yeah. All right, now right here, always take a couple, feet pulling. Okay, right here. Back here. Good job, Al.
Okay, that takes us to our next agenda item, the Library Director's Annual Report. Ms. Marlene Dorinsky. Did I do that right?
It's close enough.
Okay.
For those who, Maureen Dorosinski. So that's okay. So if you remember from last year, we had some handy visuals. We will get to that in a moment. I decided to go with something different when I started the annual reports. Instead of big, thick text, I went with brochures. So all of you in front of you have a handy-dandy trifold brochure, just hitting the high points of everything that the library has been able to provide because of your support. So I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you for continuing to support all the programs of the library, because this is, in fact, your library too. So thank you. I like that noted, thank you. And if you, in years to come, if you wanted to check this out, I decided to do something else different on the front here. You'll notice there's a mother and her little girl. It's the same mother and little girl as last year. So I bet if we can do that for years, she can have this record and look back 10 years from now and see her little girl growing. So there is a master plan for everything. All right, so a couple of these, I'll point out a couple of these things, and I'd like to thank, for the record, the Sheriff's Office. We had, over the past year, a fantastic support. We had fingerprinting for the little ones. Super Sniffer Mary, you can see her down there working the stacks, and of course, everything was fine in our branches. Be Kind to Animals program. And, of course, your friendly firefighter. We had fearless firefighter Tim and Tommy the magical medic. So we can tease them about that forever, right? Yeah. Okay, and we've also, you will see, we go to various events, like this year we went to Fort A.P. Hill for Earth Day. And me and Caitlin, who's working at the desk right now, we reached 420 middle school kids. They came to our table, and we of course shared library information and pointed out that you can do so many things at the library, because whatever it is that you geek, whatever it is that you're passionate about, your library supports you. Recycling, we had recycled potato jewelry, and we also had K-cups, you know, those little individual mini coffee pods. Okay, I see some nods. There you go. You can take the middle out of that, recycle it, and use it for seed pots for your garden. So that's very interesting things. And of course, Herb Collins and his latest book, of course. And now let us, because I know that you have a lot of things to do, so we will move on to the meat of this. Now you notice here that last year we had summer reading. 129 kids prevented summer slide. That's what we call the lag between the school year, where the reading kind of goes down a little bit maybe. And during winter reading, you know, we had 76 kids gaining pre-literacy skills. So this year our theme is reading to the rhythm. And that spotlights the importance of connecting reading to music. A lot of the pre-literacy skills include music, like singing and reading aloud. I know you're familiar with Dr. Seuss, but then the newer ones like Pete the Cat. It's all about music and beats, and the more kids can hear the rhyme and the beat, the more they're familiar with their favorite books, and it comes easier to them. So that's what the summer at the libraries are all about, reading to the rhythm. All of our programs have some connection with music. Let's see. So to kick it all off, we had some summer reading kickoff parties at each of the branches. And we had, at Ladysmith, 109 people come to their kickoff party. At Port Royal, it was a little more modest. It was kind of hazy. We had 14 people, but that's okay. The bigger ones are coming. Bowling Green, we had over 200 people come to the party. Now here is our biggest surprise. I've kept it in my pocket. At the Dawn Branch, 72 people came to the summer reading kickoff party. Now, let's look at these numbers. Everybody see these numbers? Yeah? See that? Way there in the back? Yeah? Yeah? Thumbs up? No? That's all? That's okay. You're shy. All right. So, we have 159, 365, and 1,000. What could these numbers mean? Well, 159 is last year's absolute total number of people, including adults, signing up for and completing the summer reading program. So that number includes adults. So 365 is your 2015 total, and that number is still climbing. So that's an increase of 132% of people in Caroline County that are actually signed up and participating in the summer reading program. So I think we should just give Caroline County a hand right now for reading. Let's give a hand to reading. Go reading. All right. And I mean, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. And just so you don't think I inflated these numbers, because I included adults too, out of this 365 number, 319 are children and teens. And teens, yes, teens are signed up too. So, and finally, 1,000. Some of you may know about this already, but we had you may remember, in March, we did the Caroline Reads event. And as everybody read the same book, and we all did focusing on the Japanese-American internment period. We had special guests, which you can see in that brochure. And I decided that we needed to do something special to live up to our vision statement of globally connected, traditionally centered. And the staff of the Caroline Library folded 1,000 origami cranes, and we'll be sending them to the Children's Peace Park in Hiroshima. They're on my desk and being packaged right now. 1,000 cranes for peace in commemoration of the atomic bombings in August, the 70th anniversary. So that is what Caroline County and your library system does. And finally, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Maureen. Board members have questions or comments? Thank you very much for your report. We appreciate what you did.
Thank you. Have a good night.
That takes us to appointments on the Recreation Advisory Committee. I believe Mr. Howard has sent out information as far as the names for the committee and the different districts. He is not here tonight. He's on vacation. We could approve what he sent out, or if you have questions. I'm sorry.
That list wasn't for you necessarily approved. That list was just recommendations of people that were participating in the program that he was asked to provide to give you some guidance in case you didn't have somebody. Any board member that has somebody they want on the committee, certainly that would be a name that we would want you to use. So it's not a list that we want you to adopt. It was just a list. That's why we didn't make it public, because we didn't want any names to be out there and then you didn't pick somebody and they said, well, why didn't you pick me? So it was just a list of names from each district of people that participate in the programs that he thought might be interested in being on the committee. But clearly, if you all have other folks, that would be what we would want to see.
You know, he only had one from the Madison district, and I called the individual, and they never called back. So I'd assume, you know, that leads me to believe they aren't interested in serving on the committee. They may participate in some of the programs, but do not want to serve on the Recreation Committee. So, yeah, I'll continue to try to find someone that would like to serve on the committee.
Well, let me ask, is there a board member who would like to appoint a committee member tonight? If so.
I mean, I have, and that was kind of my question. I have a committee member who was participating, but Mr. Howard sent me 2 additional names, so I didn't know whether we wanted to expand the committee to more people or leave it at 6, 8, or whatever. And if that's the case, I mean, my person has been serving. Mr. Howard says they've, you know, done a good job. I might as well continue and keep the continuity. So I'm ready if that's the case.
Well, certainly
who else is ready.
And the board makes the appointment, so if you have someone that you would like to appoint, you could do that unless the board is interested in expanding the committee. I don't I have not heard that, there doesn't seem to be the will.
I was just asking.
I think what he was doing is trying to allow each board member some flexibility in choosing who they would like to see serve. Okay, so what we can do is, for those persons who are ready to appoint, we could do that, and then I believe we could just approve it for those, and then we'll come back next month for those that are not ready. So, Mr. Thomas, if you...
I'm going to reappoint Mary Boone.
Okay.
Or request to reappoint Mary Boone.
Okay, Mr. Black.
I'm going to reappoint Mr. Ken Davis.
Okay. All right. Any other board members have names? Okay. And I don't either, but so it's been moved that we would choose Mary Boone to represent the Mattapanai District on the Recreation Advisory Committee, and Mr. Ken Davis to represent the Western District. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Been moved and properly second that we would appoint Mary Boone and Ken Davis to represent the advisory committee in the Mattapanai District and Western District. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And we will come back next month for the other persons to be appointed. That takes us to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any board member would like to see pulled, items A through H? If not, we will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items A through H.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and properly second that we would approve the consent agenda as presented, items A through H. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, that takes us to closed meeting. Pursuant to State Section 2.2-3711, A-3, and also State Code Section 2.23711, A7.
I make a motion, we go into closed session for 2.23711A3 and 2.23711A7 of the Code of Virginia.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and properly second that we would go into closed sessions under those sections listed. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Are board members ready? We will call the 2015 Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting back to order, and we need to come out of executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the Caroline County Board of Supervisors certify that only to the best of each board member's knowledge, only public matters lawfully exempt in the open meeting requirement by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that only those things that we went into executive session to discuss were discussed. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And then the motion carries. Mr. Thomas, do you certify?
I so certify, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Black?
I so certify, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, I so certify.
Mr. Akers?
I so certify.
And Mr. Seeley?
Mr. Chairman, I so certify.
And I so certify as well. That takes us to our public comment section of the meeting. The public comment section is the point in our meeting when citizens are given the opportunity to come before the board. If you have a concern or an issue that you would like to talk with the board about that's not a public hearing or is not listed on the agenda, you may come forth at this time. We ask that when you come, you state your name and the district that you live, if it's applicable, and we ask that you would limit your comments to 3 minutes. At this time, I'll open the section of the meeting for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? Is there any citizen who would like to approach the board at this time? Again, is there any citizen who would like to approach the board at this time? Seeing no one with the intention to speak, I will close the public comment section of the meeting. That takes us to our public hearings. Our first and only public hearing is Special Exception 03-2014, Commonwealth Fairs and Events, owner and applicant. Request an amendment to the special exception permit in accordance with Section 17, Section 13, Standards for Special Use Permits, and Article 11, Plan Unit Developments. Division 6, Plan Recreation and Entertainment District, Section 3 of Caroline County Zoning Ordinance on Tax Map 100-A-1A, 100A-142, 100A-2, 100A-3, portion of, and 101-A, 100B, consisting of 358.765 plus or minus acres. This property is located at Meadow Event Park, Route 3, Don Boulevard, Hanover County line, Reedy Church Voting District. Route 30. Proposed Amendment 1 to modify previously approved special exception permit, Special Exception 08-2005 as amended, to amend conditions related to the major entertainment use, fireworks, and to add campground and travel trailer park as a permitted use. Are there board members who would have questions before the opening of the public hearing? At this time, seeing no board member with the intent to speak, I will open the public hearing.
I think Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you? I'm sorry. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is hear from the public and then add my comment at the end, if that's okay.
Okay.
I do have comment, but I'd rather wait until that point.
Certainly, and board members will be given an opportunity to do that at the end.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Fincham?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before we get started, in your packet, you have a map as part of your handout. You also have at your chair tonight a little matrix which identifies camping units or camping sites and RV sites by location. This matrix should be used in conjunction with this map. Okay, so if you have any questions, I just wanted to share that with the board. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the applicant is here tonight requesting special exception permit approvals for one, an amendment to the current special exception permit related to major entertainment uses not included in a fairground. Specifically, they're asking for an amendment to condition 1 of that special exception permit, which would allow them to display fireworks up to 4 times a year in consistent with the current fireworks provisions of the county code. The special exception permit currently in place allows them to actually display fireworks 2 times a year. So that request is to allow them to display up to 4 times a year consistent with the current provisions of the county code as they relate to fireworks. The second request for consideration tonight is a request to allow them to have a campground and travel trailer park, which is a special exception permit use identified in the planned recreation and entertainment district, but which was not requested previously by the applicant. They are asking for a use that is otherwise allowed in the planned recreation and entertainment district, which was not approved as a special exception use with the original application. It should be noted that this is not a campground or travel trailer park that is open to the public. It would be limited to camping and recreational events, and there were some enumerated in the materials provided by Meadow Event Park. So these would not be open to the public. It would not be year-round camping that somebody just driving up Interstate 95 can pull off here and utilize their facilities. These facilities would only be used in conjunction with specific RV type events where RV travelers come to this location for a specific event, or tent events, camping events. The suggested conditions are included in your staff report. The Planning Commission, after a work session and a public hearing, did ultimately forward this request to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval. And with that, I'll answer any questions that the board may have.
Okay, at this time, since the public hearing is open, if there are other citizens who would like to speak, you may come forward at this time, and then once we have heard from the citizens, we will then give board members the opportunity to ask questions and to speak on the issue. So is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Karen Lambert, Reedy Church District. I'm here again, pretty much the same thing. When the fair came into our area, we were made promises of the proffers and the special conditions. And one by one, in 6 years, this is the last vestiges that are left. We were promised no fireworks, and here we are now. It's already changed to being allowed during the fair, and now it's going to be allowed at any time during the year. At least with the fair, I knew it was only going to be either the day of or the day after, because they're not going to have them when there are animals on their property. So I'm totally against the fireworks at any time, much less this change. Also, as far as the campground, that was one of the other issues that the neighbors were concerned about, and that was one of the issues you all said, okay, we won't allow this. Now, here they are, and I understand it's not someone pulling up off the road, but when you have large numbers of travelers in RVs, you also sometimes have people who may not really want to be there. You have teenagers or young adults, and they may not want to be with mom or dad. You don't know what they're going to do. Also, there's very little limitations that I can see set, other than supposedly safety and that type of thing will be reviewed. I don't see what it is, and some of my concerns may not be addressed. There are no limitations that I can see of where the campfires are going to be, where certain types of lighting are going to be, where different types of camping are going to be, and I understand that can change with each group, but that doesn't give the neighbors any feeling of safety on their own property. All things can happen. And like I say, we have watched every one of the promises that were made to us go away, and this is the last of them. We can't even complain about the noise, because everything, any permit that you issue is exempt from the noise ordinance. I don't know how late these guys are going to be making noise. They're going to have conventions going on. They're going to have their wanting to do their fun. But I want to enjoy my property too. And this is really the last little standoff we have. And then everything that we were told would not happen, everything will be gone. If you look at the beginning of this, what we were promised in 2005, the first fair didn't occur until 2009. And then here we are, like I say, less than 6 times away, and everything has been taken away. So I want you all to consider what your word is worth, because you made the people in the area, you made us promises. And this is the last one to stand your ground on. This is the last chance that we have to keep enjoying our property at least part of the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lambert. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing?
Good evening. Tilly James with Reedy Church District.
Good evening.
My questions, I have questions for the folks who are proposing this at the campground. You mentioned that this is a new request, the part about the trailer parks. My question, is there a limit on how many trailers will be allowed?
Okay, Ms. James, what you can do is ask your questions, and then once you finish, we'll get staff to address them.
The next question, have we determined the length of time the trailers can be stored on the event site while the event's going on? If it's going to be for 2 weeks, is that going to be the max? But whatever the max period of time we have we determined that time? After the campground and the trailer park is added, what additional plans for expansions have been discussed? Will they add swimming pools later or other additional items? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing?
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph James from Reedy Church District.
Good evening, Mr. James.
Same with myself. I have questions related to the park being used for fireworks. It mentioned 4 times a year. So at any point during the year, fireworks displays can be executed at the park. Is that correct? That's a question. The next question I had was, the trailers are being brought to the park. Sanitary conditions and environmental concerns is one that I have. The park itself, is it capable of being managed like a trailer park, like Kings Dominion Campground, with all the sewage disposal facilities and things like that? The other concern I had, not really a concern, but just a question, it's the same as Tilly's. If there are 40 events a year that's scheduled for trailers, people traveling to and from, if an event is held at the Raceway in Richmond and it's an extended event out at the park, will the trailers be allowed to come multiple times during the year, or is it just a defined number of events that we're talking about? It makes a big difference, I think, in how Meadow Event Park manages whether it's 5 events a year or 40 times a year that trailers will be coming into Doswell, into Route 30. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. James. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing?
As the applicant, is now at the appropriate time?
Sure. You can go ahead now.
Okay. Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Caroline County Board of Supervisors. I'm Marlene Jolliffe, and I'm the VP of Operations at the Meadow. And I am pleased to provide some additional details about the special request and some of the questions that have been posed. I do think it's important for folks to understand a little bit about me, to understand why we're here tonight and what some of my vision is for the future. I came to the Meadow, started February 2nd after 25 years as manager of the State Fair of West Virginia and our 200-acre facility. I chaired our International Fair organization, and my 25 years was really built on a solid career that was founded on being a good community partner. We had a large operation with neighbors, and I always knew that respecting our role in that community and how we, what we looked like, what went on at our property, that mattered. So